guys, Island Turtle here. Welcome to another episode of Island Turtle Talk presented by BOMISpirit. So, we're going to be touching on quite a bit today. I suspect this episode may be a little bit longer than usual. You already know. But I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer before we get into this because there's a lot of topics here that I can feel percolating to the surface. So, I mainly want to focus on the recent energies that came through with the new moon Leo and how they are supporting us, influencing us, flowing with us and through us currently right now in the collective. Okay. Now, some of this new moon Leo energy has a lot to do with sacred fire and the ways that we interact with that, connect with that, experience that, especially through the body, especially through the vessel. This will also touch on the wild energy within the inner animal, if you will. Some people are seeing that, I think, as the shadow. If that's your lens, that's your lens, and that's totally valid. But along with this, there's also some stuff coming up for some people. I'm really always try to emphasize that around shame and how that also is tied into our relationship with the body and tied into our relationship with sacred fire, tied into our relationship with the wild within. Okay. Now, if any of that is very triggering to you, this is your exit. Okay. This is me just giving you the heads up of some of the topics we'll be going into because sacred fire can manifest in so many different ways. And also to say, as we dive into this episode, that however this is moving through you, around you, in your experience, I may or may not even mention it today, because there are so many different ways we experience, connect to, embody, witness sacred fire, the wild within, shame, our relationship to our vessels, right? So just to say that everything that I mention here is not limited to what you may or may not experience. And so just trust that as you hear my voice and you hear these words and you hear this episode, transmission, if you will, that the information that is aligned to your personal truth and your personal resonance will land and will be seated within your own consciousness. You will feel that and just trust that. And anything else that's not aligned to what you're experiencing, you will not internalize. Okay? Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. So the new moon Leo was on the 24th of July. This new moon Leo, oh man. I've been really riding the waves of this energy, and because there is so much primal, wild, sacred fire kind of energy wrapped up in it, it's been quite a ride. Like I've been really loving the red color lately. It's just like, I know Leo's more yellow, but red is that fiery, passionate energy, the wild energy, the root energy, and is very primordial, visceral, I think is a good word for that in and of itself. But this new moon Leo had a very strong opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. Now, the way that I've been seeing and feeling this, like navigating its way through the collective, Leo energy in and of itself is sacred fire. Here's the reason why I say that. And of course, everything that I say here is just through my own lens and observation. If you don't agree, you don't agree, and you don't have to agree, right? We all have different truths and lenses and resonance, right? But Leo, going from Cancer to Leo, I've been speaking about this recently as well, transitioning from Cancer season to Leo season with this Jupiter Cancer energy that we got ushered into in Cancer season that allowed us to have this very expanded internal awareness of our own heart spaces, our connection and awareness of emotional needs and nourishment and sense of emotional safety and security, love even, and how important connection really is, right? It's like we've been in this kind of hyper interdependent focus in the collective for a few years now. I say hyper because I feel like some people have like taken it to extremes and actually moved into more of like hyper independence versus like interdependence. That's a whole other topic. We don't even need to get into it here. But this Cancer season, Jupiter being in Cancer, has kind of offered a wider lens, right? And again, I think brought some perspective into how powerful heart-to-heart connections are and how human it makes us, right? But this is also very internalized. And then we go into Leo, right? Going from Cancer season to Leo season is about the internal root, internal emotional hearth, right? And our awareness of that, our relationship to that, even like the cosmic womb and the mother, all of that is very Cancerian. Cancer is the vessel, right? This is just how Spirit has communicated it to me over the years. And being ushered into the light, into Leo, into the sun, into the center stage to be witnessed, right? There is a birthing energy as we go from Cancer to Leo. It's just kind of innate in how these energies exist and even exist within between each other. Sorry, Clyde is distracting me a little bit. Just keeping my eye on him as a cat mama does. Anyway, but going into Leo, this new moon Leo has been giving me an interesting lens of Leo. Again, there's infinite lenses of everything. It's kind of the fun thing about our reality, isn't it? But the lens that has been offered to me is seeing this, like the medicine even of Leo, this sacred fire. And what I mean by that, I actually, there was a transmission that came through that I've been meaning to get to. By the time you're listening to this on Spotify, I'm pretty sure I'll have it up on YouTube, so go ahead and check it out. It's very quick. I imagine it will be very quick because the transmission is like short, but I don't know if it's going to turn into a song or not. But it's very primal, and there's a lot to be said there, especially in terms of ancestors and bringing forward that fire from ancestor energy, which is, again, going from Cancer to Leo and honoring the sacred fire. But coming back to what is the sacred fire? The sacred fire is the passionate sacred flame that is from the soul. In our reality, I think it's really easy to confuse desire and passion for something bad, desire and passion for egoic whimsy or recklessness or impulsivity. Granted, that's part of being human too, is learning the differences and all of that. But passion and desire in and of itself does come from the soul. It doesn't come from the ego. Can we experience it through the lens of the ego? Sure. Can we experience it through the illusion and confusion of the ego sometimes, or even the illusions of the external world and how people twist things and distort things and project things onto us? Absolutely. And that is definitely some stuff that's been coming up here recently in the wake, I want to say, of the new moon Leo. Sorry, the birds are distracting me. Nature's been talking a lot today, I gotta say, especially with all this like wild energy. But let's come back to the sacred fire. But true passion and desire is birthed from the soul, in that it makes it sacred. That makes it very real. That makes it very authentic. There's a truth in that. And that truth is the way your soul is moving, the way your soul is speaking from this fiery, primordial, ancient place. There is a remembrance here that is emerging through this sacred fire within all of us, and there absolutely is an ancestral component there. They're right here in the room with us, by the way. And when I say ancestors, I don't just mean your ancestors. I mean the ancestors. I mean all of the humans that have walked in their truth before any of us ever came to be. The ancestors that connects all of us, right? Those who walked in their truth, who walked in their sacred fire. They're in us. They are, because we are their descendants. And that fire permeates us, permeates our vessels. It is the memory, says Spirit saying, that is the memory. So when you feel this heat, you feel this rise, you feel this sacred fire, you feel the passion, the desire emerging up and through the vessel. That is you remembering, not just your soul, but remembering all of the truth of what sacred fire has ever been. A sacred silence wanted to be had there. And that not only is this not shameful, my mic just did something weird. Not only is this not 555 on the clock, not only is this not shameful, it is sacred, and it wants your attention and it wants your devotion, because again, there is truth in that. And this is part of the transmission that wanted to be put out. And again, I will be doing that at some point. But the illusions of the external world, the illusions of distorted energies, people, projections, society, whatever, want us to forget that, want us to take our sacred fire that is absolutely connected to the wild within all of us. I'll get back to the wild within We'll break all this down. The inner animal, the sacred inner child, even the wild woman, the wild man, sexual primal energies as well, creative energies, the inner warrior, warriors. I don't. These energies want you to forget. They want us to not remember. They want us to keep that wild, sacred, fiery, primal part of ourselves chained and lost to the forgotten shadow. But this new moon has gifted us that opportunity to see what we have allowed to be chained away in the forgotten shadow and unleash it. Get reacquainted with it. This does not have to be arduous. This doesn't even have to be emotional. This can be fun, because that's also sacred fire. Sacred fire is also sacred play, sacred giggles. I have a feeling we're going to have some sacred giggles come up today. If you don't know what sacred giggles are, I hope you get to experience it at least once in your life. The best way I can express it, because words are so primitive, sacred giggles is when you feel that wave of just pure, unbridled, illogical joy, right? Very childlike, very pure, very innocent, but just moves through you without the chains, really, without the chains, where you feel your heart kind of explode. You feel your big belly laughs coming up, but it comes up in giggles. And it's just, sometimes I find it comes through when we're having very powerful spiritual experiences, or very powerful sexual experiences even, or when the inner child is just like, you're just fully in your inner child energy doing something silly and fun, and you just get in that moment of just unbridled, blissful, divine joy. And it creates this reverberation of just sacred giggles and laughs, and it's just a very beautiful energy. And yeah, I just hope everyone gets to experience that. But coming back to sacred fire, sacred play, it's sacred giggles. Again, it is this also primal self, right? I'm hearing, they're stopping me, that we are being gifted this back to us. This is how some of us may be experiencing this. Remember, we are in a lot of, we're still in this window of remembrance. We've been in this window of remembrance, of remembering who we really are, remembering what our innate desires and wants are, who the authentic self is, even lost skills, lost wisdom, lost knowledge, even recovery of ancient histories, like on a more collective scale is part of this too. Recognition of certain individuals, right? Like soul recognition between people has been part of this too. But in this remembrance window, this is how some of us may experience it, that our fire is coming back, our sacred fire is coming back, or even what that was, what that is for us individually. So I just wanted me to stop there for a second to mention that. But another aspect of this fire can also be warrior energy. And when I say warrior energy, it's, you can equate that to masculine or not, doesn't matter. There's a feminine aspect to this too, but doesn't matter. Warrior is just warrior energy. This warrior energy, if this is how you're experiencing your sacred fire coming back and reemerging in this sacred, beautiful way, that is the part of us that is not afraid to be possessive about what is right, that is not afraid to stand in our sacred fire and honor and protect and stand up for the truth of that sacred fire, right? Whether that truth is something that means something to you, that's precious to you, that holds value, whether that's a cause outside of yourself, whether that's a person you care about. It's just the part of us that protects the truth of what the sacred fire even is and what it brings and what it evokes. Excuse me. And even when I say the word possessive, I think we have toxify this word. I don't even think that's a word itself, but that's how I'm gonna use it. And then we brought toxicity to that word, possessive, almost like we don't have a right to be possessive, but I think we absolutely do. I mean, granted, I am a Scorpio, so just putting that disclaimer out there. We have the right to be possessive over ourselves. We have the right to be possessive over our safety, right? What does it mean to be possessive, really? So many lenses of ways you can look at this. To be possessive is to, Lay claim over what's precious. Lay claim over what is rightfully yours. And there's absolutely a time and a place to do that. Some people, again, may view that as toxic. I think there's a lot of lenses there. Excuse me. But that is also part of warrior energy, right? Now, I want to speak a little bit to this wild energy, the wild within. Again, I feel like some people are perceiving this as the shadow. I've just been referring to it as the inner animal because that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to me when I'm like feeling into it or observing it in people, myself included. Because we are animals at the end of the day. We're human beings, we're animals, we're part of this earthly plane, we're part of nature, and that does make us an animal. Sometimes we forget that, and sometimes we have maybe too many reminders that we're animals. But regardless, excuse me, sorry, energy is just moving through me. Yeah, because we're about to get into some big stuff here. The wild primal animal within all of us has also been getting evoked in the wake of this new moon Leo. So let's get into some of the astrology as to why that is, right? So the new moon Leo was opposing Pluto and Aquarius very strongly. So the new moon Leo is already kind of highlighting this like sacred fire to emerge, right? The opposition to Pluto is Pluto digging deeper into us to bring that out even more, to shine light and truth on what that sacred fire is within all of us and how that wants to be experienced and expressed. We'll get back to the more experienced and expressed as we get into the wild energy, but just wanted to give you some astrology background here because Pluto and Aquarius is also about truth and the birds are distracting me, higher consciousness, the authentic self, and also how we relate to each other communally, right? Innovation, creative intelligence, all that stuff, creativity comes with Aquarius, but Pluto and Aquarius digging into Leo in this way in all of us has been demanding that sacred fire to rise. Okay. Oh, sorry, I just shook the camera. Summer solstice, there was a rising of this energy as well, back in June. Excuse me. And now we have another wave of it with this new moon Leo, which has actually been really helpful, I think, for most people. Now, that also being said, this is also opening the cage, if you will, for us to see what we have chained away in terms of our sacred fire. Maybe that is shadow for you. Maybe that is your inner animal. Maybe that's your sacred inner child. Maybe that's your inner wild man. Maybe that's your inner wild woman, right? It's just the wild primal spirit of the fire that dances through us. That is our spirit, right? Just in the form of physicality specifically is also how this wants to be referred to. Lord have mercy, referred to. Hold on. Hold that in your mind as we'll circle back, okay? Now, another aspect to this new moon has been Mercury retrograding in Leo. So again, more of that sacred fire energy through the realm of expression and thought forms, right? How we communicate it or not, how we think about it or not, how we believe in it or not. Squaring off Lilith, Vesta, and Juno in Scorpio. If we didn't already have enough of let's dig from the depths and bring it up to the surface, these energies will do that too, especially in a square. And when I remember when I first felt into it, like maybe even over a week ago at this point to the time I'm recording on the 26th, by the way, of July. But when I felt into that, I felt that tension. I felt the command of the Scorpio energy. Lilith in Scorpio in and of itself is already pretty intense, right? Lilith kind of jives pretty well in Scorpio because Lilith prefers truth and authenticity, unbridled, raw, primal energy is what she prefers, right? Whether it's in the form of desire or even fear, which I always kind of love about Lilith. And also the intuitive component of Lilith, the sexual energy of Lilith, very scorpionic. But to have Vesta there too, Vesta is the sacred flame. Yeah, you heard that right, for those who are not attuned to astrology. And we keep talking about what? Sacred fire. We keep talking about the sacred flame within us. And now here we are talking about Vesta, which is the sacred flame in Scorpio, right? Along with Juno. Juno being the celestial body that rules what I call bonded relationships. It's marriage and partnerships, but I call that bonded relationships in terms of generalities, right? And protection of the feminine is part of that too. All of them being in Scorpio together really amps up this, before even talking about Leo, really amps up this awareness of the primal needs, the primal self, the wild within, if you will, whether that is in terms of shadow and repression and neglected inner animal, which can also be fear and shame, even the inner child, the wild woman, the wild man, all of these aspects of ourselves, right? The birds are freaking out, man. I'm loving it. They're like chasing each other. Anyway, excuse me. The Juno component highlights the potential of loyalty, disloyalty in terms of relationships where there have been significant bonds or bonds you want to have and solidify, right? All of that coming into the bowl of all of this themes of the wild within. Vesta also adds a flavor of personal calling, of what your soul even wants to experience through this sacred flame and sacred fire, right? All of that to square off with Mercury in Leo, right? And Mercury retrograding in Leo already kind of adds a little bit of a restraint, but you put it in a square with some Scorpio energy. Yeah, that's tension right there, okay? That will highlight insecurities even more so. That will highlight fear even more so. It's kind of like, actually, this came up in the Patreon live when we did the hangout for the new moon Leo. It was this feeling of like feeling confident through that Mercury Leo energy about what you want to say, how you think about things, how you express yourself, but then suddenly a mirror is held up to you and you see what you haven't been honoring in terms of this primal, wild, unbridled self. And then it goes, oh, oh shit, that's there? Wait a minute. Was this real confidence? Is it not? Is this ego? Or is this sacred fire in its unbridled primal self, right? So it's like holding up a mirror to the self in that way. Okay. Now, again, that being said, this doesn't have to be all about fear and shame and those kind of denser emotions. It can also be about play and joy and sexual energy and expression, creativity, confidence, feeling amazing about yourself, even feeling radiant or beautiful or handsome to my men out there, right? Expression. This is where we want to come in and talk about the vessel here. Okay, Spirit's guiding me to talk about the vessel and how that plays a role in this. So much is coming through here. Wolf has been coming up a lot too with a lot of these energies because wolf is very primal, and wolf as a medicine, as a guide, can actually help us to navigate some of these realms of self, if you will, specifically the primal self. And the wolf does help us to integrate as well because it also is a medicine of turning knowledge into wisdom, right? And how we run with others is also how that wanted to be said. But let's come back here. Coming out of the astrology and talking about the vessel. When we talk about the element of fire, fire in and of itself is non-physical, right? Fire is the spirit. Fire is the energy that courses through our body, that gives us the ability to move, to run, to take action, to do things, to create life itself. So that fire helps us with. But because of that, because fire is so non-physical and it propels the physical, that is how we experience it. That is how we know it's there. That's how we know it's alive. Some of you may actually been feeling more alive or wanting to, how do I want to say, feel life through the body a lot more in the wake of this new moon, because again, that's how we experience fire. So some themes that may have been coming up here for some people. Oh, hold on a second, Spirit. Let me pause here. They're saying feel alive, feel alive, feel alive. How do I want to dive into this? Because I felt all of a sudden so many different layers of it emerge at once. Because again, fire comes in so many forms. Start with the child is what they're saying. Start with the sacred inner child, the inner little girl, the inner little boy, right? Sacred fire coming through the child, the way children want to run and frolic and play and spin and experiment with movement, right? There's a reason for that. That is the inner child sacred fire moving through them. Some of you may have been having this come up for you recently, how you did that, how you used to do that, or even how maybe you didn't do that, and feeling that in the present adult body. If you're an adult, I hope you're an adult listening to this. If you're not an adult listening to this, please click off. Okay. Anyway, could just had to be said. Anyway, in the adult body here, right? Feeling that, sensing that, maybe even working with your inner child a little bit more in that and wanting to move in the way they want to move, whether that's even through creating the way they want to create. Experimenting is what's coming through very, very strongly there. Experimenting the way the inner child wants to experiment. Frolicking down a hill and throwing yourself down a hill the way that your inner child used to do, right? It's like these kinds of things, like really feeling your sacred flame again through physicality. Now, the way that this may also come through in terms of the wild man, the wild woman, a lot of that feels very primal in sexual nature as well. This is also a new moon where there is a lot of sexual energy, I will say. Granted, we're still in the wake of it, but these are energies that are in the collective getting churned through, getting worked through in the current present, but also in the coming days, okay? So just keep that in mind. While I'm speaking about the new moon, it's beyond that. It's about more than that here. The wild man and the wild woman. Obviously, there are wounds here for some people in terms of how that is not allowed, right? Right. Whether it's in terms of sexual nature, pleasure, which doesn't always have to be sexual, passion, and even the flip side of that, anger, rage, frustration. These could be some things that have been coming up for you recently as well. And I want to say for people who identify as men or masculine energies, being allowed to feel your sacred fire, being allowed to feel the sexual energy that emerges up through you, how that wants to propel your body in certain ways, and not having shame about that. Even how your body may or may not live up to. Sorry about that noise. I wanted to wait for that to pass. I think it's because we're actually talking about masculine fire here. Coming back. Or even how, when it comes to your physical vessels, how your sacred fire may or may not move and propel your body the way that you want to be able to move or to look or be seen, right? This is also where we do have some, we're going to come back to women as well. But this is also where we have some body image themes come up as well of what looks masculine, what looks feminine. And again, in terms of how the body looks and feels, how we almost look at someone and gauge where their own sacred fire is based off their physicality and based off of their capability of what they can or can't do, right? These are some things, some judgments, some criticisms, some pain, some wounds, some memories, your relationship to yourself in this way that's also coming up at this time for some people, not for all, right? And on the flip side of that, we're going to come back to women, I swear, also ordaining the vessel. Right? Ordaining the vessel is also very Leo, right? How we wear our hair, how we choose our clothes, how we choose jewelry, no jewelry, tattoos, no tattoos, whatever, right? How we want to treat our vessel in that way. We're going to come back to that as well. Speaking to speaking to people who identify as female or women. Well, I mean, we know these topics very well. There's a lot that just came up as I was venturing into this topic. That's why I wanted to slow down a little bit here. The way the body and vessel is seen as a woman or a female, again, if you identify this way, in terms of your physicality, how your own fire is able to or not move through you, and how your body shows that or doesn't show that. In perception, if you're listening, I'm using air quotes, in perception of how people perceive that. Maybe how you even feel that way about yourself. Obviously, there's a sexualized energy for all involved here too, right? These themes, your relationship to your body and your vessel, This is part of honoring your sacred fire, because your sacred fire moves your vessel. And on that note, what I'm about to say, some people may also be having moments of reflection, of remembering, recalling phases of relationship with their vessel, phases of relationship to their sexuality, where maybe they didn't know how to honor their vessel. I'm going to say we. Maybe where we didn't know how to honor the vessel. Maybe we lacked awareness of all the body actually does, of all the vessel actually does, how sacred the vessel is, especially in terms of how this sacred fire moves us, or when we feel disconnected from our sacred fire, or our sacred fire gets so snuffed out because of the demands of chaining that sacred fire, right? As we grow from child to adult, we refine ourselves, we learn, we mature, right? This is normal. As it is to be human, even any animal. That's literally how we develop as creatures on this planet. But when we develop from child to juvenile to young adult to elder, etc., there is a refinement that is part of being here on this planet. There's a refinement to that as we age, of, again, who we are, how we express that sacred fire, how we let that sacred fire move through us. And there's definitely times where through that refinement process, we start unrefined, right? We start in a way where maybe we are reckless, maybe we are impulsive, maybe we are destructive to others or to ourselves. Maybe we do kind of run the vessel ragged, or neglect the vessel, or abuse the vessel, because we are learning the relationship to sacred fire. Right? Partying a lot, not partying at all, right? How we, you want to come in terms of sexual, oh my God, that didn't even want to be said, sexual experiences, or even how we feel inspired to use our vessel in creative ways, like dancing, right? Feeling alive through our vessels in that way, through movement, or not moving at all, right? I'm speaking to extremes here. Again, these are just examples. So if you've been having these moments of reflection or awareness, of remembering times where you have been reckless with your fire, this is time to make peace with that and to reclaim your fire in that way, to let it out of the basement, if you will, to let it rise again and move you again. And maybe some of you are just enjoying this energy and just loving it and living your best life. And good, I'm glad. Not everyone is. And that's just the truth of it. There's so much talk in, I think, all of social media really at this point, about how, people just like to focus on the negative, or people want to keep you trapped in these cycles of, I don't know, of feeling like something's wrong with you. And that's just, I just don't think that's true. I think some people are fixated sometimes, but I don't think that's true, because there are many of us out here just shining light on truth for some people that really do need it, and some people that really need that support. And then there's people that go through that and then they've outgrown it because they've evolved, or they've let go, or they've healed, or they've gotten some insight, right? And they have, right, moved on. But as humans that start out as little humans, and through this refinement process we call growing up and maturity, there are plenty of humans learning still to make peace with themselves. And that's part of this. So I guess just to say that, to always allow space for that, for others who are still in their refinement period. And that's okay, no matter how old they are, right? Anyway, let's come back here. In these memories, you may also feel gratitude for all that your body has carried you through. Even when you didn't know your body was carrying you, holding you, in times where your sacred fire was out of control and maybe you didn't honor it in a sacred way, or where it was completely snuffed out entirely, and you couldn't be in your body. Right? I think that's an experience a lot of humans can relate to at this point, right? through depression, right? Through addiction, even through anxiety, right? There's all kinds of ways that humans can experience that and are experiencing that right now. But your body does know you, your sacred fire, as it emerges and comes back. You may be becoming more aware of your body. Some of you, again, not all of you. And as you are, just allow that to unfold in whatever way it wants to. Maybe you're feeling more sensual. Maybe you're feeling more like you have more energy, like you can go and do more things and move in certain ways. Again, movement's coming up a lot around this time. Just let your sacred fire move you the way it wants to move, because we are being gifted right now with, thank you, Spirit. We are being gifted with the ancestors fanning the flame of the sacred fire that lives in all of us. Whatever you want to do with it, whether you just want to giggle, whether you just want to play and maybe spin in a circle, or dance, or make love to your person, right? Or create something beautiful with that sacred fire. Whatever you decide to do with it, just allow yourself to honor it. And at that same time, I want to talk about shame. I was like, and I was about to close out, and I was like, no, there's something I'm missing. And I looked at my notes. I was like, oh, shame. Shame is how that sacred fire gets chained up, how that wild within gets chained away and put in the basement for no one to look at, even yourself. When people have their own shame and they look at you in your sacred fire, your expression of your sacred fire, a lot of people, they don't even realize it, are very quick to project their shame onto you and shame you for it, right? Because it's either too much, it's inappropriate, don't do that, don't say that, don't act like that, don't dress like that. I know that's getting into sexualization territory, right? Shame. And then as humans, we get very good at shaming ourselves because other people have projected so much shame, right? And depending on what generation you are, you may have a lot more shame than other generations, right? That being said, if shame arises, just know that most likely it wasn't really yours to begin with. Most likely, you know you best, right? If someone shamed you for the way you dressed, shamed you for not living up to an expectation, even, or going outside the lines, coloring outside the lines with your sacred fire. Give yourself permission to go outside the lines. Give yourself permission to dress the way that makes you feel really happy and excited, to express yourself in the way that feels really right for you, right? I think if you recall those memories where you felt shamed for something in some way, and you look at it through this lens of what was really going on there, was I really wrong? Or was it okay? Were they just having a bad day? You may realize that your authentic expression of your sacred fire highlighted their shame. We don't need to shame people. We need to stop doing that. And I know some people say like, oh, there's power in shame. There's really more power in understanding each other, right? Right. I mean, I think our community knows that, but yeah, shame as a tool is just a weapon. It really is. Something that's wanting to be said as we close out, especially in terms of the vessel. Your body is yours. Your body belongs to you. Actually, it's interesting. This kind of came up earlier, didn't it? And you have every right to be possessive about your body, how you want your body to be treated, how you want your body to look, and how you want to dress your body as well. Again, all of this is very Leo. Very, very Leo. But yeah, I feel like some people needed that reminder. And if you enjoy dressing for others, if you actually truly enjoy it, do do you all day. But just don't forget, your body belongs to you. And thank you. They're reminding me of one other thing before we close out here. For some people where that is coming up a lot, ownership of the self, ownership and sovereignty over your sacred fire and how it moves through your vessel, and then how your vessel is treated or judged or experienced or witnessed in that sacred movement of your sacred fire. Some of you, there may be some ancestral stuff coming up because there is so much just ancestors present at this time as well. There are a lot of us who have ancestors that were not allowed to own their own body. And so that may also be coming up and moving through you. And just know that as it is to lay that to rest, to lay that with peace, lay it down with peace. To reclaim your vessel is also to allow your ancestors to reclaim theirs. Okay? But yeah. And with that, I think it's time to close. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope it offered some support, some laughs too, maybe some sacred giggles. I don't know. We talked about some heavy stuff here today, but I'm gonna let you guys go and enjoy yourselves and have a great night and take care and stay safe.